Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into a massive question, one that's probably on the mind of every single developer out there. Is AI coming for your job? We're going to explore how this tech isn't just changing code, but what it even means to be a programmer anymore.
All right, let's just dive right in. The big one, will AI replace programmers? I mean, is that career path suddenly a dead end? It's a huge question, right? And to even begin to answer it, we've got to look at what AI is actually doing in the wild today.
So first up, let's look at the evidence. Because if we want to get a handle on the future, we need to be real about what AI can do in software development right now. And trust me, this isn't some far-off sci-fi thing. It is happening as we speak. And to be clear, we're mostly talking about generative AI here. This is the magic behind tools you've definitely heard of, like ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot. This stuff can create a crazy range of content. We're talking everything from a simple little algorithm all the way up to whole functions for really complex software.
And the impact? It's honestly kind of staggering. I mean, research from IBM shows AI is already a player in 10 key areas of development. And look, we're not just talking about spitting out lines of code. It's involved in everything from the very first brainstorming session right down to designing the final user experience. It's everywhere. What's really wild is just how deep this integration goes across the entire software development lifecycle. Think about it. It can take a vague idea, help you flesh it out into actual requirements, help with the design, write the code, and then, get this, even automate the documentation when you're done. It's really becoming this end-to-end partner in the process.
Okay, so if AI is getting its hooks into everything, what are you supposed to do? How do you work with it? Well, the answer isn't to try and beat it. It's to collaborate. But that requires a pretty fundamental shift in how you think about your job.
And I love this quote because it just perfectly captures the right mindset. Developer Jason Liao puts it this way. He says, AI is like a brilliant intern. Someone who's read every book, knows everything, but has zero real-world experience. It has all the knowledge, but it needs you, your guidance, your context to actually apply it the right way.
So how do you actually manage this super intern? Well, smart developers are building out playbooks, just like this one. You start high level, right? Talk about the big picture, the architecture, then you give it specific context. Point it to the right files, the right docs. You can even use another AI to get a second opinion on its work. And this is key. You make it explain itself, line by line. You make it review its own work. You're not the code monkey anymore. You're the manager. You're the director. And this leads to a super important warning. You have to stay engaged. Just mindlessly copy-pasting code without really understanding what it does, that's a one-way ticket to making yourself irrelevant. The whole point is to use AI to learn faster, to build smarter, not to completely outsource your brain.
Okay, so this whole new way of working, it's completely changing what it even means to be a software engineer. The title on your business card might stay the same, but trust me, the job description is getting a total rewrite. So the old role, it was all about being a manual code implementer, right? You were the one writing all that boilerplate stuff, spending hours, maybe days on some tedious bug. The new role is totally different. You're more of an orchestrator, a high-level guide for these incredibly powerful AI tools, which lets you focus on the big picture. Think about it. When AI is handling all the routine grunt work, you're suddenly free to focus on the stuff that really matters, the hard stuff, the human stuff. We're talking complex architectural planning, really creative problem solving, and figuring out how to use all this tech to solve actual business problems. That's where human ingenuity really shines.
And Norman McIntyre, an instructor at UC San Diego, he puts it perfectly. He says you become more of a strategist and less of just the builder. Your expertise, your experience, that's what you use to guide the tools to get the best result. And honestly, that's a way more powerful place to be. All right, so we've seen what AI is doing, how developers are adapting, and how the job itself is changing. So let's bring it all home. Let's circle back to that big question we started with and finally deliver a verdict. So, will AI replace programmers? The short answer, and this is coming from experts all over the industry, is a pretty clear no. It's not going to happen. The future here is all about collaboration, not replacement. And there's a really good reason for that. AI has some major limitations. I'm talking about things like hallucination, where it just kind of makes stuff up. It can carry biases from the data it was trained on. The code it generates might even have new security holes that you wouldn't expect. And a lot of these models are like black boxes.
It's super hard to tell why they made the decision they did. It absolutely needs a human expert to spot those errors, check for bias, and lock down the security.
So you see the pattern here, right? For pretty much every risk that AI brings to the table, the solution is a human. It's thoughtful human oversight. If you don't want to become over-reliant on it, you've got to keep your own skills sharp. To prevent security nightmares, a human still needs to do that critical code review. Your expertise isn't just nice to have, it's the essential safety net.
So, what's the big takeaway here? How do you make sure your career is future-proof? Well, the path is actually pretty clear. First, you have to become a lifelong learner. You have to stay up to date on both coding and AI. You've got to be adaptable and actually learn how to weave these new tools into how you work. And maybe most important of all, you have to master the fundamentals. You need to know your stuff so you can tell if the code the AI spits out is any good. You can even use it to get better, Write your own solution, then see how the AI did it and learn from the comparison.
Instructor Jams Gappy has what I think is the perfect analogy for all this. He says AI is like the new Google. Think back, when search engines first came out, people were worried. Will we forget how to remember things? But what happened? It just became this incredible tool that made everyone more productive. AI is exactly the same. It's here to stay, it's a tool, and you really can't afford to ignore it. When you step back and look at it, AI is really just the next big thing in a long line of tools that have made developers more and more powerful. I mean, from the very first compilers to IDEs to search engines, each one was a leap forward. This is the next leap. So the question for you isn't if you're going to use it. That's a given. The real question is, how are you going to collaborate with it to build whatever comes next?